Welcome to HomeWord. I'm Jim Burns, and so glad you joined us today. We are doing part 2 of our podcast on answering questions about doing life with your adult children. By far, our most often downloaded podcast was one I did early on called Doing Life with Your Adult Children. And we just did part 1 last week, and I think it's going to be one of the most often downloaded. And twice as many downloads was when we first, on that first one. So 6 years ago, I never dreamed that I would be spending the rest of my life answering questions and speaking on this subject, doing life with your adult children. I just finished a book. I turned it in yesterday to the publisher. Drum roll. Can you guys do drum rolls on this podcast? Hey, good. Thank you. That's a fake drum roll, but I appreciate it. On another book called When Your Adult Child Strays, Trading Heartache for Hope. And I'm looking forward to that too. But today I've invited again, producer of our podcast, Mike Segovia, to join us on the podcast. And he's chosen some of the hundreds of questions that we get. And I mentioned last week, Mike is a friend and he's an amazing producer, amazing producer. And he's our producer, but he's also the producer for other podcasts. And we think we got a good deal with him. I don't want to get his ego up too much, but we think we are so blessed to have him. Mike, welcome back to part 2 of this podcast.
Jim, thanks for having me, man. And thanks for the kind words, man. I love doing this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I've known you for many years, way back to the days when you were on radio. I've been to your studio and, had lunch and watched you record some great guests. And it's just so awesome to jump on doing this with you, doing the podcast portion. And of course, having Elijah take care of the video. It's amazing. I love doing it.
Absolutely. We're talking about doing life with your adult children. Elijah has a less than 1-year-old.
Okay.
And so, this is hard for him probably, but he's making do. He is doing our YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And I noticed in the back, only for the people who are on the YouTube channel, but you got like this major board. Do you still use that board? Is that the board you use for producing right behind you? It's a soundboard, it looks like.
Yeah, that's kind of what we use. And we also use,
I didn't know that.
I love analog. I love digital. I love it all. And we do, because I'm a big sound guy. We love to edit. We love to produce. We love to mix. And, one of the cool things about putting together a quality podcast, for me, the number one thing is content. And Jim, that's what you got. You got great content. You got great questions from your listeners and people respond. Jim, if you don't have content, you don't have a podcast.
You're right. Content. We used to say content is king. I said that, but it's so true. Hey, I got a question for you first, and then you're going to ask the questions.
Yeah.
As producer of the HomeWord podcast, HomeWord with Jim Burns podcast. Yeah. So how long have you been doing producing? That's one question.
Okay.
So tell us
how long have I been producing? Okay, Jim, are you sitting down?
Yeah.
I'm actually celebrating 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
In radio. I know I don't look at Jim.
Yeah, you told me you were 35. So how does that work?
I know Elijah thinks I'm 29. That's fine. That's great. But
no, he doesn't. I can see him in our studio. He's shaking his head. He's not 29.
40 years, Jim. I've been doing this for 40 years.
And you have adult children of your own.
I have adult children of my own. A daughter. Are you going to ask me their ages?
You can fake it because
29 in August. My daughter Charity, she lives in Virginia with her husband Jay. My daughter Faith is 28, 27, and she lives in Castle Rock, Colorado. And then my son Matthew is going to be 22 in August, and he plays football in college at William Woods University. And so I'm just loving it, Jim. And so we're empty nesters. And so
you guys are empty nesters and you're pickleball experts.
We're pickleball experts, Jim. I want to play you and your wife in pickleball, me and my wife.
You don't, we'd kill you. I played once and Kathy played for half of the game. And then her friend came over and she hugged and she goes, find somebody else to play with you. So we're not really good pickleball players. But anyway, I did play tennis. My dad was actually 7th ranked in the nation.
Wow.
And I could play ping pong, but I haven't done either of that for a long time. So anyway, there you go. Paddleboarding, we can go paddle. We'll take you paddleboarding down here in Dana Point.
There you go.
But anyway, you have questions. Let's get into it.
I have questions. You have answers. Our 20-year-old daughter is home from college for the summer. We must constantly remind her to stop playing her music so loud, clean up her messes, and stop borrowing things and not putting them away. We love having her home, but she really is annoying. Sadly,
I love it.
Sadly, the constant conflict is hurting our relationship.
Yeah.
She is not respectful. She wants to be treated like an adult, but she doesn't act like an adult.
Yeah.
Jim, what can we do?
In the first podcast, people have these deep emotional concerns and they spilling it out, and I'm laughing at them. Well, part of that is just the norm that a child has been in college and
Mhm,
has lived on their own. And her room is in college is probably a mess. And she does different hours and she does different things and she plays her music as loud and nobody's complaining about it in college probably. And then she comes home. So I say to parents all the time, have the conversation, not in the heat of the battle, but have the conversation when your kids come back. Because she's kind of in that boomerang time. Her kids are gone, her daughter's gone, but then her daughter comes back at certain times, and say, "Hey, here's what some of these expectations we have are. What do you think about these?" And then
mhm,
present some expectations. Hey, what we're going to ask, and again, it's not because we don't like music or whatever, but we want it to be a little lower. We are empty nesters now. We are going to ask you to clean up afterwards. So if you're going to stay here, and we are thrilled you are, but we're going to ask that you keep your bathroom clean, that you keep your room semi clean, that you actually take your cups and saucers and dishes uh, to the sink and you actually do the washing of those. You're not here to work for us, but you're here to take care of what you would do. You would do that for someplace else. I know you so well that if you're at, somebody else's house, you would take care of that. So what you're doing is you're alleviating being mad at them because you've already told them what the expectations are. So that alleviates a lot of it. Now, some kids are still going to keep going, right? And still are pushing and whatnot, because that's the norm. You're going to have some of that. That's why I laughed. But the point being is when we don't give them expectations,
mhm,
then we don't have boundaries. We haven't set the boundaries. When our daughter came back into the house,
mhm.
we had expectations. So we said, here's the expectations. We'd like one dinner a week. So I thought that was pretty easy.
Yeah,
And we want you to clean the bathroom. In fact, here's a bucket. And I had a little toilet brush. And I said, do you know what that is? And she goes, I have no idea, which says the kind of training we did for her.
nice
And I
job,
said,
Jim.
You're going to clean that bathroom once a week, if that's okay. And here's the other thing we're going to ask. So we didn't have many, but we said, at 11 o'clock, we're going to be wondering where you are. And we know you keep a lot different hours than us because she's the late night person. She was a late night person when she lived with us. And so we're going to ask you to text us because we're going to be worried about you.
Mhm,
Mom's going to think you're, broken down on the side of the road. And I think you're going to be, you know, doing weird stuff. And I know you're not going to do either one of those, but text us. And most of the time she texts us. I'll be honest, she didn't always text us. And I'd say, hey, you broke the expectation. But interesting thing, and I think this woman needs to hear this too, is I said to Becca, do you have any expectations for us? I thought she was going to say no. I just made this up when I was talking to her. And she goes, well, Dad, I have an expectation for you. And I went, oh, because I thought if she had an expectation, it was going to be for Kathy. And she said, I have an expectation for you. I bring my friends over and you sit in the middle. I know you were a youth pastor and my friends love you. Don't misunderstand me there. But you just kind of you just kind of invite yourself to my friend's party.
mhm.
And Dad, I think my friends love you. They enjoy it. But I think you're taking advantage of your youth pastoring. And so I would rather have you ask me if I'm going
Mm.
to invite you or not. And I went, Becca, I am so sorry. That is so true. That is so right. And I took missteps there and I didn't mean to. And she goes, no, don't get all like, mushy on me, Dad. It's not that big of a deal. But you know what? It was a really good lesson for me and for Kathy that our adult kids had some expectations with us too. So I would say with that woman, she's going to win a lot by doing that and then having some expectations.
Great answer. Let's keep going, Jim. So many great questions here. Is there ever a time when we should ask our 26-year-old son to move out of our home? He isn't launching to adulthood well. Do we give him a gentle or not so gentle push out the door?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good question. Now, again, we have listeners from all over the world. And what I find is in a lot of the places in the world, until they are married, they live at home. And in
I
our
did, yeah.
world in the United States, a lot of times 26, they should probably be moving on. So this is more cultural. I think that you can create an exit plan together. Notice that I said the word together. He
Yes.
probably doesn't want to spend the rest of his life there. Now, if you saw the movie Failure to Launch at 31 or 32,
Yeah.
the guy was still living in the house in the same bedroom that he had been at when he was 3 with the same bed cover that he had when he was 8. So, I mean, again, why would I want to move? I mean, my mom takes care of me. Okay, I get it. You don't want your 26-year-old to have a failure to launch.
Mm,
So again, I realize you're going to have to culturize this if you're in another country, but you don't want your 26-year-old to have a failure to launch. So I think you create an exit plan, and don't make the exit plan 2 weeks, but help him understand an exit plan. Do you want to live in an apartment? Do you want to live in an apartment with a friend? What do you want to do when you grow up? Because you haven't obviously grown up yet, and help them do that. And I think part of the exit plan is helping them. They don't have to have the job of their dreams, but you can't enable dependence on you at 26.
mm,
Enabling dependence on you would mean that you were cooking all of his meals, you were cleaning all of his clothes, you were cleaning all of his clothes, washing his dishes, things like that.
fixing the
So what I'm
bed,
saying
yeah.
is yeah, I mean, and part of that is just now that you're 26, here's how we're going to do this thing. And again, it doesn't have to, don't do it in, as have said 100 times, don't do it in the heat of the battle. Do it, in a more, you know, simpler way, but help him do the launch. Even to the point, and I say to parents, I don't think parents should be enabling dependence by giving them all kinds of money, but to say, you know what, if you need help with your first, you know, month's rent, we've decided we can go in partnership with you or whatever it might be. But begin to help him if they're at 26 still, you're still paying for their cell phone bill, and you're still paying for insurance and things like that. 26, it's interesting that she said this because it's kind of the magic number for health benefits that they
Mhm.
now have to go out on their own. So that's a good time. I don't know that that has anything to do with it, but even the health thing, you're going to have to get your own health insurance. And so help them do that. Prepare them for adulthood by having those conversations, but help them create something that they feel comfortable with. When they have a plan, it's much more appropriate for them to then take the launch because they have a plan. They're following the plan and the roadmap. If they help create it, people support what they help create. So don't just give him here's your plan.
Yeah,
Okay, we do that as parents. It's easy, and we're probably right, but instead
yeah.
let him be a part of that plan.
Do it
Yeah.
together, I love it. That's
Right.
great, do it together, yep. My 25-year-old granddaughter, who was homeschooled and went to Awana. Jim, what's Awana?
Awana is a Christian program that they have in churches that's wonderful, actually. And it's when they're young teens or when they're children. And it's kind of like a mix between youth group and
Oh,
Boy
okay.
Scouts and Girl Scouts. It's really cool. I love it.
Ok, awesome. Well, she did Awana until she was 15, and what
Yeah.
now, Jim, she's living with another girl.
Mhm.
She told us she is a lesbian. We want to show her love without acceptance of her lifestyle. We want to invite her and her girlfriend to our house. We live near a lake, but we would also need to tell her they can't sleep in the same room.
Mhm.
How can we do that, but still show her
Yeah.
love?
Well, I love these people because they're leading with love. They want to show her love. They don't agree with her lifestyle probably, but they want to show her love. And I think that's awesome. It's the same with a boy and a girl. They are living together, and if they're going to come to your house, it's your house, your rules. So I
Mm,
think you do it in a really neat. I don't think you do it in the moment where it's embarrassing or anything like that. But you call ahead of
yeah.
time and say, "Hey, we'd love for you to come. The lake's nice. Whatever they're talking about. We've got rowboats." Why did I say rowboats? There have to be better things than that. So we have paddleboards, whatever we have, rowboats. That's just funny. Okay, so you say on the podcast, Jim loses it. Anyway, we'd love to spend some time with you. However, how we feel about people, sleeping together,
Mm,
who aren't married, and so here's going to be the rules. I hope that's okay for you guys,
mm,
because in doing that, you're still showing love, you're still showing honor, but they know what you feel and believe. We had an experience like this with Kathy's brother. Kathy's
mhm,
brother's a great guy. I love him beyond measure. but he was living with his girlfriend, who's now his
Mhm.
wife. Was living with his girlfriend. They were coming down, and we had this conversation. Our girls were still living in the house, and Kathy said, we got to talk to Mike. So I said, I'll volunteer. So I call and I say, Mike, so happy to have you guys coming down. Really excited about it. Hey, we have this rule in our house that people who aren't married don't sleep in the same room. And I hope that won't be offensive because we want you so bad to come. But, we've got a place for your wife or your girlfriend. And then we've got a place for you. It's called the couch, if that's okay. And, oh, we want to go to dinner with you. And we want to do all these kind of things. And Mike went, pause. And then he goes, okay. Well, later, Mike kind of renews his faith and he goes, that must have been a really hard call for you, Jim. And I go, it was so hard to do because I'm sweating. This is my wife's brother.
Yeah.
I thought he might get mad at me. But you know what? He now understands that and appreciates that I
Mm.
called with some boundaries. If they don't, then it gets a little sticky. I know people who will say, we'll help pay for a hotel room. Some people would say, we would never do that. And we would not help pay for a hotel room. And we're just going to say, this is how you have to do it, or you don't come. Um, Different people have different views on that. All I'm saying is your house, your rules, but don't surprise them when they get there. Have the conversation ahead of time. They can talk about it. They can gripe about it if they want. And you can say, hey, if you want to dialogue on this, we're more than happy to dialogue on it. But don't make it the biggest issue of the world. Just make it incidentally, here's how we do our life. And you're coming into our house. So our house, our rules. I'm big on that. And I think
Mm.
that's important. And so I know we could talk about lesbianism and we could talk about all these other
Yeah.
things. I'm just simply saying the question that she asked, the presenting question was, we love them. We want to be with them. We want to influence and impact them. And we don't want them to be in the same room. Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Perfect answer. Jim, time for one more question before we take a break. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. How far can you push Christianity down the throat of our adult children who
Just
don't?
stop it right there. Is that the question?
That is the question, Jim. How
Okay.
far
Well,
can
you
you push
can't
Christianity
push
down the
Christianity
throat?
down.
Come on, Jim.
Yeah, you
How
can't
far?
push Christianity down the throat of your kids. You can't push Christianity down the throat of anybody. Okay. I'm just saying that to you. I'm sorry. Preaching doesn't work, lecturing doesn't work, and jamming it down. When you push, my friends, you're pushing them away.
Mm,
Okay. So again, that wasn't the style of Jesus. That's not the style of the Bible. Again, it's more awkward. It'd be great if there was some kind of style like that. That doesn't work.
mm,
Okay. So what I'm saying in a case like that is you can be a great witness. You can care for them greatly. But when you say pushing down the throat, you're probably exaggerating. But if you are not exaggerating, then your kids are running from you. I'll just tell you
mm,
that. And I don't mean to
mm.
be mean, but that's what they're doing. So no, you can't push Christianity down the throat. It's the most important thing in your life. Paul said to somebody who was, a big shot. He said, I would hope that you would become like me, except for these chains, because he was in chains. So that's how I feel about Christianity. I want people to become like me. I want them to become Christians. Like, my life has been transformed, all of that, but it's not going to happen if I push Christianity down their throat.
Love it.
That's just not going to happen. Okay. So
Love it.
stop it. Don't say those words again. Okay. Hey, we will take a quick break. We'll be right back. Don't forget to pick up a copy of the book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children. Keep your mouth shut and the welcome mat out, or check out one of our two cool courses that we have. Like I said, check out all the stuff at HomeWord. We've got a great podcast, HomeWord with Jim Burns. You're listening to it if you're new. But also we have another podcast by Paige Klingenpill. Mike is the producer there as well. And it's called Embracing Your Season, Parenting the Littles and Understanding Teens. And she's awesome. So take a look at that. We're going to take this very quick break and we'll be right back. Hi, Jim Burns here. I am so excited about what's going on at HomeWord. Some of you are just learning that things are changing around here. And one of the most exciting things changing is our new president, Marcus. And Marcus, tell us what's going on with HomeWord.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Really appreciate it. So excited to share with you, give you a glimpse of what God is doing in this new season at HomeWord. And it's a blend. It's a blend of new and tried and true. And our mission right now is, how do we take these 4 decades, these 40 years of ministry, of resources, of principles that God has been changing lives throughout the nation and beyond, and expand that, but also tether it to a younger generation. And the way we're going to do that is through a blend of tried and true resources and principles and events, as well as new initiatives. And I'll start off with the new. On the new side, we have a new website. We are rebranding. We've got new staff. We've got new faces and new voices to our growing social media presence, and that is wonderful. But also on the tried and true side, we've got a Refreshing Your Marriage retreat that has been an amazing, impactful event. We've got our conferences like Trainer for Trainers and our resources like our books that we're going to continue to write and expand and change lives. Speaking of which, Jim, share with us the latest update of what's going on in the book world here at
You
HomeWord.
got it. And I'm excited about your leadership, and I'm excited about where we're going at HomeWord. It's going to be pretty incredible. We've got a book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children. We have other books, of course, but that's still on the bestseller list after 5 years. Even this month, it's on the bestseller list. And now there's a new one that's going to be coming out called When Your Adult Child Strays, Trading Heartache for Hope. And I'm doing this book right now, and there's going to be a course with it. And we have other books on sexuality and things like that that are really, really making a difference all around this world.
So with all the things going on right now at HomeWord, here's what you can do. God is putting in our heart this desire and this plan to expand our Refreshing Your Marriage conference that I recently attended, and it helped my wife and I have a breakthrough that God was working in our hearts for a while. But beyond that, I saw other couples experiencing the same thing. So we are going to expand our Refreshing Your Marriage conference, take it to other cities, and we want to be able to not only help make sure that happens, but also those that can't afford it, that need to be resourced and some scholarships. So we want to make sure nobody misses out on a chance to get their marriage refreshed and to draw closer to the Lord. So I'm asking you to make a special gift above and beyond to support that. Thank you so much, HomeWord.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Jim Burns, and you're listening or you're watching on the HomeWord YouTube to HomeWord with Jim Burns. And we are so honored to have you here, and we're going to get right back into it. These questions are great, and I must be tired or something because I am losing it. I just said the word go to the lake and be on a rowboat. Rowboat, by the way, I've been on a rowboat, Mike, and it's kind of fun to do. Kathy and I did that one time, and we had a blast.
That sounds
I
really
wanted to throw her in.
difficult, I mean, real exhausting. I don't know why anyone would
No,
wanna do
no,
that.
you don't have to row very far. Anyway, go ahead. You got questions. I'm trying my best to give answers.
Yes, this question is from producer Mike, and he wants to know why the LA Dodgers are your favorite baseball team.
Hey, I grew up here in Southern California. People don't, always know where we're all from and all that, but I grew up in Southern California, grew up
Yes.
going to games. My brother played for the Chicago White Sox, so we're a baseball family.
Oh, wow.
And so we went to Dodger games. I lived in Anaheim, California, which is where the Angels
The
are. And I
Angels,
love the
hello,
Angels
Jim.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Angels. So I'm a fan of both. I don't get to the ballpark like I used to, but I love
Yes.
it. Although it was funny, Kathy and I spent, and you can tell that these seats weren't great because they were $60, maybe in
Yeah.
some places in the United States, but we bought $60 seats for Kathy, myself, and my grandkids.
Uh-huh.
And so James and Charlotte went. Charlotte never looked at the park. She just looked around because she was looking for food whenever the vendors would come down.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody around us started laughing because any vendor that came, she just put her hand up, and then I go, no, we're good. But she got plenty of food. But like beer guys would come down, and she'd put her hand up because she didn't know it was beer. And I'm like, it's not happening. So she was entertaining. But I thought to myself, that was probably the biggest waste of $240+ plus so much money for food. So we spent, I'm sure, over $300
Oh,
to
yeah.
take them to the ballpark. And we had hardly made it, although they love it. They go, when are we going back
Oh,
to the Angels?
memories.
But
Memories.
anyway, it was kind of funny because I spent a lot of money, and literally James couldn't have told you who the Angels were playing, and Charlotte couldn't have told you that there was a baseball game out there.
Mhm.
But there
They
was
were
licorice and popcorn,
they
peanuts.
were they will remember that for the rest of their life.
I guess. So will I, and so will my bank account.
There you go. All right, back to the questions from the listeners. Jim, should we make our adult child who is living with us go to church? Ooh, this is a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. And, my answer is different than what some people might answer. I think when your kids are younger,
Mhm.
our family goes to church, and you can either sit with us, you can go to the youth group, you can go to Sunday school, some people will say you can go to another church. For youth group, our kids went to church, but our daughter Heidi didn't like our youth group. I shouldn't say that because there's people in my world who were part of the youth group, but she went to Young Life. and we
Mhm.
said that was okay.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And so, again, I know people who say, "You know what? My child when they were younger, they go to another church's youth group." I love it when you all go to the same church, but anyway, that's different than the adult children. I think the adult children, you need to have those expectations. We sit down, we say, "Hey, we'd love for you to join us at church," but I don't think you should make it mandatory when they're
Mm,
adults.
mhm.
Uh, because I think it goes back to the previous question where we're pushing them a little bit too much. They know what we want. And since they're at home, what I have found is sometimes parents will say, "Hey, you know what? We're in a really good series at church. And what we were thinking about doing was having breakfast beforehand and then just going over to church." And it's kind of like, the Union rescue mission. You get food and then you
Yeah.
got to hear a sermon or something.
Yeah.
But we found that to be one way to get kids to church
Mhm.
was to go, "Hey, we're going to have some breakfast and then we're just going to bump over to the church." We didn't have that as much of a problem with our kids, but I think parents have to have a plan. And if it's working, awesome. If it's not working, because you're saying, "Hey, you live in our house, you go to our church," but they're adults, so I think we have to start treating them as adults, which means they're going to have to make up their own decisions. Now,
Yeah.
they're going to make decisions that is going to break our heart, but this might be one of them for a while. But when they see you guys going, they see the habit, they see you guys growing in your faith and loving what you do and loving the church, then sometimes they'll follow that much more than if you're going to church. So that's my opinion. Sticking to it
I
today.
like it. I like it.
Would you mind
Model it.
going?
Model it. You guys keep going.
Yeah.
I think that they're following along closely.
Mhm.
Um, all right. Next question. What do we do if my spouse and I don't agree on lending money to our daughter, who is a single mom and the mother of our two grandkids? She really needs help to get by. My husband says that's because she isn't responsible with her own finances or other things in life that are enabling her. Is it okay to help our daughter out with finances? It's another
That's
great
a tough
question.
question.
Man,
It's
yeah.
one of the better questions we've had because there's not an easy answer on this.
Mm,
You want to be together on this, and I don't know how she didn't like go, "My husband hates me and I hate my husband right now," but they are at a disagreement, and I think you may have to, as a couple, work through it. And I would actually suggest, again, sometimes it's good to go to the pastor, go to a financial advisor, really walk through this. At other times, you may have to bring in your daughter and have that conversation. However, I do think it's important that you don't do this for the long haul. So I don't think you say, "Hey, forever and ever, we're going to pay your rent. We're going to do this and that," even though it's a daughter who needs some help. Maybe she isn't that responsible as the grandkids. So I think we say, "Hey, here's what we've been doing, and here's what we're going to continue to do, but we're going to relook at this in 3 months. What we don't want to do is make this a habit because we don't want to be looking at 3 years later doing the same thing because we know you got it. We know life's hard. You're a single mom. We want to see you work hard, and we want to see you be a great mom. We'll babysit for you. We'll do whatever we can." It sounds like they live in the area,
mhm,
but I don't. It goes back to enabling. You always have to ask the question: Am I helping or am
mm,
enabling dependence? And I think when it comes to money, sometimes we enable dependence. So the dad's right on that. He doesn't want to take it. I mean, he's not, I don't think he's doing it because he can't, he might not, I mean, maybe he can't afford it, but maybe it's just, I just don't want to be kind of sucked dry.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
But, um, but you got to do it with really some class and ease into that conversation. Do it with honor. The Bible says, outdo one another in showing honor. So honor your single adult daughter that I'm sure hasn't done it all right, right? Because nobody does. At the same time, the mom may have to negotiate with her husband because she sounds like she's much more in let's just take care of our baby. I get that, but sometimes it's not healthy. So that's why I like a third party. I spend a lot of time with other people saying, "What do you think about this?" Because I want their input. I'll make the decision, but I want their input. So there's a lot of people in my life who I'll say, "Let me throw this at you. What would you do?" And then I discern and make the decision. That's what we all do, I hope. So what I'm saying to them is no simple answer, but get some good wisdom and just have a plan together, and you're going to have to somehow come together on this one way or the other. Um, but maybe it's a 3 month come together
Oh,
instead of we're
yeah.
going to do this for the rest of our life.
Right, exactly. No, I
Good
like that.
question.
I like
Complicated
it.
question.
Great question, good answer. Okay, what is your opinion on dealing with my husband, who is constantly offering advice to our more liberal kids on politics and religion.
Yeah.
My kids don't want to be around them, Jim.
Yeah. Right. Well, keep your mouth shut. Bite your tongue. I've got scars on my tongue because I've had to bite my tongue on things. It's not your husband's place. I know
Mm,
he thinks about it all the time. He watches television. He wants to share all this news. They don't want to hear it.
mm,
So I would only give advice and input if they ask me for it. And then I'd even be a little bit tentative because, again, he's jumping in waters that aren't going to work. And you don't want to ever push them away. So it's possible to have a great relationship with your kids and they will vote differently. I was speaking in Austin not too long ago. Well, actually, it's been a little while because it was the election. And the pastor had an I voted on his lapel.
mhm.
And he was just getting ready to introduce me. And he showed a picture of him and his daughter. Said, first time she's voted. And we're really excited about this. And wasn't voting on voting day. They were voting ahead of time. And he said this thing and he goes, I think we canceled each other's votes. Well, there's a lot of parents right now and younger adults who are canceling each other's votes.
Yeah.
He said, but that's okay. And what he was saying was, I think his daughter was in the audience, by the way, but he said, he's saying, I love my daughter. We're not going to agree on this stuff, but I don't think we just give unsolicited advice, whether
Mm,
it be, especially religion and politics. I mean, think about, this has been a long time. People will be saying, we don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics and stuff. Well, now it's even more heightened and more intense. Do talk about your faith. Do talk about politics, but do it with somebody else who cares, because I don't think your kids want to hear it. If they invite you, absolutely. If they don't invite you, then keep your mouth shut, welcome that out. Still keep a atmosphere of what I call a welcoming mat atmosphere. And to do that, sometimes you just don't want to talk about it. I had a situation not too long ago where a man or a kid said to me, they wanted some conflict advice and said, the kid said, if my dad votes for Trump, I'm out of here. The dad says, if my son doesn't vote for Trump, I'm taking him out of the will. I think
oh,
both were wrong.
man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, I mean, people can say what they think about a politician, but that's not the reason to
Yeah.
take somebody out of
Not
the
the
will. It's
reason.
also
Yeah.
not a reason to be out of here.
Mhm.
So part of that happened prior to that. They'd been having, fights about it.
Right.
Okay. That was where the heat of the battle was. I think sometimes we just have to mellow it out and parents take the lead. We want our kids to, but they're not going to take the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. There's other things you can talk about.
Exactly.
You don't need to talk about that. Absolutely. Okay, man, Jim, this is great. We're fighting the clock. I know we got time for one more question, so let's get to it. How can I avoid falling into the trap of criticizing myself as a parent for the poor choices my adult kids are making? They don't live how we taught them how to live.
Mm.
And this has
Well,
got to touch a lot of people. Yeah.
yeah. My heart goes out to anybody who feels that way, and I get it. We feel guilty. We feel shame.
Mm,
When I talk to parents, we talk about what I call complicated bereavement, which is bereavement a lot of times is thinking about a death, but complicated bereavement is when you have complicated grief because you didn't see this coming and we take the blame. If I was sitting with you having a cup of coffee and you asked me that question,
mhm,
I would say, if I was sitting with you having a cup of coffee, I would say, you are not defined by your kids' choices.
mm,
I would say there are millions of really good parents who have kids who make poor choices. And in fact, it's the really good parents who care like you do. But since you're not defined by that, you're going to have to rise above the circumstances and get the help that you need to work through this. Your circumstance may not change, but your attitude can change toward your child, and that makes all the difference in the world. Does that mean it's going to take away heartache? No. When my mom died, I lived for 2 years of heartache. I mean, I get that.
mm.
The heartache is still sometimes there. We just had Mother's Day, and when our pastor
Oh,
said
yeah.
something about mothers, I almost felt my eyes well up with tears thinking
Same.
about my mom passing
Yeah,
away.
same.
And so there's times, but what I'm saying is parents are taking too much guilt on when it comes to their kids' poor choices. Their kids are adults. So if their kids are making those poor choices, they are choosing to make an adult decision, whether you like it or not. But that's not on you. And I've had parents say to me at times, if I would have prayed more with my kids, if I
Oh,
would have had
yeah.
a Bible school with
Oh,
my kids, if we could have
yes.
taken them to the church mission trip, if I wouldn't have messed up in my own life as a child, God doesn't love you by definition of what
Yeah.
you do. It's for who
Mm,
you are.
mm,
And so you're gonna have to figure out how to do that with your own children, but you'll want to get the help you need because again, my heart breaks. I totally understand. There is hope out there, but there's not a promise of always change.
mm,
So for that person who wrote me that, and a lot of times it's mom who does
mhm,
this. But for
mm,
that person, my heart breaks, but to say, you are not defined by those choices. Okay. And actually, I would get real spiritual on him and say, you're a child of God and God loves you for who
mm,
you are and he's proud of you. And, he's also sad that your kids made some goofy decisions. But again, it's not on you. Every decision we make that's goofy, are we going to blame our Heavenly Father?
mm.
He's not sitting around going, you know what? I blew it there because Jim lied or Jim cheated or Jim did whatever I do, whatever. I'm sure I lie sometimes. I don't mean to or cheat, but you know what I mean. Now people are
Yeah.
going to all meet me and go, "How do you lie? What do you do to cheat?" But we all do that. We miss the mark.
Mhm.
God's not defined by our
Yeah.
ridiculousness. Either are we defined by our kids' ridiculousness. I'm
No,
going to write that down because I've never thought of that in that way before. So I'm going to write that down. I like that answer.
that's good stuff, and that's precisely why Christ died for us, because we
Yeah.
do miss the mark, and so his
Yes.
expectations, he looks at Jesus, if we know him, he looks at us, he looks at
Yeah.
Jesus, we're covered, so,
Yeah.
man, Jim,
And
this has been great.
good.
We've covered all the questions. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, there's many
It's been
more, but
great.
we can't get to them all, Jim.
Well, let me encourage people to write us. They can go to info@homeword.com. We write back, so they'll get a personal reply,
Mhm.
but also we'll probably do more shows like this. This worked. This
Yeah,
is this
this
is
is
great.
this has been great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Jim. This has been
Yeah.
awesome. I've really enjoyed it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Mike, for your help. Thank you for producing this show and being on the other side of the mic this time. So great. Again, great questions today. And parents, get the help you need. And so what I'm saying is develop a circle of support. And if you have a circle of support around you, then you're going to be able to navigate doing life with your adult kids or any aspect of your life better. And here's one model that has kind of worked for me with a circle of support. It doesn't build overnight, but uh, it's over tested with time. And it's a community of caring people who, from all walks of life, who kind of come alongside me. I have this circle of support when I'm weary and I get weary and I get drained, or I have questions like some of the questions that the people had who, asked me. Well, that's me too. Okay. So I think you want to build a circle of support that takes intentionality, purpose. And I've never met anyone who says it's not worth it, but it does take time. So here's my circle of support. It doesn't have to be your circle of support, but here's my circle of support. I need mentors. So last Tuesday, I was with a mentor, Terry. I love this man. I ask him all kinds of things. He's 9 years older than me. He is so wise, has such great wisdom. And I imitate how he does marriage, how he does life with his kids and with his grandkids, because he's just an amazing mentor. Okay. Also, we need peer influence and support. So I was with my peer group. I was with my support group. There's 6 of us. We all got together for breakfast this week and we had the best conversation and we laughed like crazy. We made fun of each other. They usually make fun of me. But there's just a good thing. Pastoral care in church. Okay. That's my part of my circle of support. Okay. My pastors, I love my pastors. I don't spend a whole lot of time, in their office, but I love these people. And I know that they would come for me if I had some kind of a need. And I love my church and I love the worship aspect of church. And I love each week seeing people at church. And so church for me is a total circle of support. Healthcare. I mean, we don't think about that, but I'm finding more and more that what I need to make sure that I'm doing is, getting my physical checkup, going to the dentist, doing these kind of things, just because healthcare is going to help me become a stronger, better person. And then sometimes for some of us, it's a counselor coach. I have the privilege because I'm on a show called New Life Live that I sit once a week with counselors and I learn so much from them, but I would never hesitate if I was going through some kind of a thing to talk to a counselor or coach and kind of get their perspective. And then also for me, it's family. I know some of you don't have family that you can do, but my family's like that. I had breakfast with Christy today. It was awesome on both sides, going on both sides. And now we've done mush when it comes to some, texting with each other, just because it was so important to us. So I had lunch with Becca and her husband last Sunday. And I'm telling you, it was so worth the drive. For me, it was a fairly long drive. I had lunch and then I came right back home. It was just super. Kathy was away still. And so I was with Becca, and it was wonderful. And the same with Heidi, whenever I can be together with them. So family does that for me. Kathy does that for me on a regular basis. Okay. So again, because doing life with adult children is a long-term process, it's not surprising that we will become weary at times, especially if your adult child is straying. So it's up to us to find our own individual support system. So I would ask you this question: how is your circle of support? And if it's not, start today. Start moving in that direction. It's going to take a while, but develop a circle of support and let HomeWord help. Let us be a part of your circle of support. So know that HomeWord is always here to help. There are so many good resources at homeword.com. So until next time, I'm Jim Burns, and you are listening or you're watching HomeWord. We love being with you, and actually we love you, and we want to help you in any way we can. So take care until next time.